there's a saying that when you are trained academically, you are only being prepared to be trained on the job. You are not prepared to be a complete doer of that job.
Yes.
You are just, making you marinate. That's fine if I can say that. For you to be able to be trained, to do the job you are hired to do. Because Harotain academically, we are making you open to receiving coaching, to receiving
One of
guidance.
my favorite lecturers in uni said to me that I was just teaching you how to learn.
Exactly.
Once I teach you how to learn, my job is done.
It's done. So when you talk about the mismatch between the qualifications and the skills, yes, I think it is a concept that is very high level. We need to understand what we mean, because if you are trained in marketing or journalism, it doesn't mean I cannot train you to do some things appropriate.
Yeah.
Because you are already prepared to receive new things and be able to understand, interpret them, and do the job that is required.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. My name is Kathy Malajani. I like to tell people that I'm the village girl from Ramotwa. I like to tell people I'm #CuriousCath. You know why? I have so very many questions. And my guest today, I believe, definitely has the expertise under his belt to answer these questions. We're talking today to someone who's a distinguished property management professional, a property professional with over 25 years of experience in property asset management, development, and strategic management. Now, he has a number of certifications and hats that he has won. One of them is a BSc Honours in Urban Property Surveying and an MSc in Strategic Management from the Universities of Northumbria and Derby in the UK. My guest is a proud member and former president of the Real Estate Institute of Botswana, and this is underscoring his commitment to advancing the real estate profession. And he's also served as CEO of Khumo Property Asset Management since 2012, leading the company through a period of extraordinary growth. We'll talk about that today. Now, under his visionary leadership, Khumo has expanded its portfolio from 600 million pula to approximately 5 billion pula by 2025. His strategic direction has driven new property developments worth over 1.5 billion pula, cementing Khumo's position as a market leader in Botswana's property sector. I could go on. He has, like I said, worn quite a number of other hats, but allow me to introduce and welcome to the studio, our Moving Humanity Forward studio, Mr. Outule Bale.
Thank you, Kathy, and nice to be here.
We're excited to have you, and I said I have many questions, and I believe you will be able to answer these questions. So let's start with this. Our podcast is called Moving Humanity Forward podcast, and we believe that Khumo has been doing exactly that right here in Botswana for over 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
And looking back to when it began, and you and I were just talking before we started the show to say, when Khumo started, right, you joined when Khumo was about 2 years old.
That's correct.
So you've pretty much been with Khumo Properties the entire time. So I want to find out, in terms of the mission, if that's changed or if that's just stayed a constant as far as meeting the changing needs of our society.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. As a business, we are involved with preserving value or wealth for our clients, and actually growing wealth for our clients over time. That has remained the same thing for us over the past 20 years. We manage assets on the face of it for institutional clients, but the ultimate beneficiaries are ordinary Batswana who are relying on pensions when they retire for their livelihoods. So these institutional clients, they invest in property assets, which we then manage on behalf of the owners. We also get instructions to develop assets which will generate cash flow, annuity income for the individual pensioners who are behind the big entities that we are managing assets for. So our mission has not really changed in terms of what we want to do for the ultimate beneficiaries, to manage assets well, to ensure when they retire, they find something that can support their lives. And that is from the revenue that we collect from these assets. So we keep doing that, we keep refining how we do it for them so that we remain at the top and we are a market leader in what we do.
I mean, yes. I want to explore that a little bit to say, even just the name Khumo,
yes,
it means wealth, right?
It means wealth.
So in the context of property asset management, because you're saying this is really what we do,
yes,
depending on the instruction and so forth, how does the company redefine wealth? And I mean, I'm thinking this is not just about balance sheets and,
no.
You know, you are really translating real estate into societal wealth.
Yes.
So tell me how the redefinition of wealth happens.
Sure. Because there's a lot of players within the space of real estate. As I mentioned, there are investors. On the one side, there are fund managers. There is us. There's also other stakeholders such as professionals who we rely on to provide the services. There are people that work with these properties for a living through their entities. So our role as Khumo is to ensure that each and every one of those, they find something that is of meaning to them, that can sustain their lives as they offer those services. So when we define wealth, we don't just mean wealth for Khumo the business. We mean wealth for people that matter, for whom we exist. And those are the pensioners, as I said. But also we have a responsibility as a company to develop our market, bring it to a level of sophistication where if we get foreign investors coming to Botswana, they will not be shocked into the way we do things. They will see similarities because we've taken the way of doing things of the company to a level that they are familiar with from where they come. So it is our responsibility to develop the market. We develop the professionals that we work with as Khumo. Knowledge is power. So knowledge is wealth in our language. We're not looking at balance sheet, profit, bottom line, all of those things, but we are looking at the impact we are having in the society that we find ourselves operating. So in short, that is how we define wealth. And especially also to provide a benchmark as a company to young and up-and-coming entities that want to do what we do, those that are born and bred here in Botswana. We are a guidepost for them to show them the way, because we've been around. Remember Khumo, when we were established, we were the only company that was managing assets for independent clients or for third-party clients. Compared to other entities that we know, most of which are listed, they are managing their own assets. We manage assets for a variety of clients. At the time when we were established, we were an entity that was doing that Illinois in the country. And many of these entities that are now listed, when they set up, they touched base with us at some point to say, how do you do this? What systems are you doing? How have you structured your company to be able to provide the service to your clients? And in that sense, we were of value in shaping how we see entities today. And that is something that we will always treasure because it's impacting our society in a good way.
you're really speaking music to my ears, because in my mind what you're saying is that when you have, especially if it's a massive project, it's not, you don't see it as a physical huge, you see it as small ecosystems of businesses.
Yes.
And I'm always so interested to know about how the growth, the capacitation of, especially like you're saying, you want to be a guidepost for companies that are homegrown, right? So I'm always looking to say, how deliberate are you in terms of supporting citizen economic empowerment,
Yes.
things like local enterprise growth? How intentional are you about it? Because I want to believe that's how you see it.
Yes, correct. So when we procure, we always give preference to entities that are owned by citizens of Botswana. The way we evaluate proposals that we get from entities, there's a component that says, what is the ownership of the entity? And it scores high if the ownership is also shown to be belonging here at home to Batswana. And this is in alignment with the desires of our clients, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Because they also have that duty, because they're doing business in our country. They have to be seen to be participating in growing our own people, in growing our market, ensuring that we keep revenues or cash flows within our borders to be able to do other things. Yeah, so it's extremely important for us. Even in Khumo itself, when we were set up, almost the entire executive management of Khumo was made up of people from outside our borders, from the CEO, fund manager, retail property manager, services manager. They were all expatriates, white expatriates. And for years now, actually from the time that I took over, everybody is born and bred here in Botswana, in Khumo, 100% in terms of the employees, whom, by the way, have grown in stature to the levels that we saw when we had the expatriates, the founding expatriates within Khumo. We rely on them entirely, and we are proud of that. Yes.
I love that. So skills transfer is something that did happen,
Real
can
time.
say you did it.
Real time.
I like that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at your portfolio, right? Yeah. And you've got some iconic redevelopments, like your Blue Jacket. It's completely redefined the retail as well as the lifestyle landscape of Francistown.
Correct.
So I want to know, when you look at projects like that, what are those human, or are there human stories that you're most proud of? I can run Moving Humanity Forward podcast.
Yes.
So are there any that you are very proud of that you don't mind sharing some with us?
Well, we some of them we can share them in a joking manner, because they had some funny aspects to it. When we reimagined Blue Jacket Plaza, if you know the shopping center near the bus station where ShopRite is, it had an upper floor which was not performing, was empty, and old, and the property is situated right in the center of Francistown,
right on Blue Jacket Street.
It was the property that was done in Francistown and for the first time introduced escalators. And I remember when we opened Kathy, people would come,
people were coming to just get on the escalator.
and while it's a funny thing, when I spoke about bringing sophistication in what we do, we want to see development, we want to see things being improved gradually, so that at the end you look back and say, no, we have done something for our societies. We also brought services, new shops right close to the people who matter, the ones that use public transport, and your hawkers, and we brought them sophisticated retailing so that they can when you bring things that are sophisticated nearer the ordinary people, there's a lot that they learn that is not written, that is not projected out there, but it's an intuitive thing. it's an inherent thing in that process that when you bring something next to someone who has not experienced it, they learn. Oh, this is how big businesses do things. I may be doing my small hawking business here, but I see that Exact or Sports Scene is doing things in this manner. What can I improve in my business? So that is the impact that as a business, when we imagine the properties that we manage, while they're investments, we want to see the impact. Can our people learn? Even when we arrange stores within a shopping center, we bring our SMME owned stores so that they can come and trade here and learn from the big guys that have been in the business for long. Some of them we expose through franchises. They get franchises, we avail the platform for them to come and trade, learning from these people. So those are the human stories that are not obvious to the eye, but they happen as the processes unravel. Yes.
I love that, and it really does speak to your commuters as well,
Yes.
because it is quite a busy part of Francistown.
Sure.
But let's come to Gaborone now and look at a shopping center like Airport Junction.
Yeah.
Because it's in a way an ecosystem of dreams, if I can call it that.
Exactly.
I'd like a little bit more, if you can, of an example of, say, an SMME, a smaller entrepreneur who came on board and as a result has seen growth, has seen, learning and so forth.
Yeah. Well, without really mentioning names, but they are there. When we started, our principle was that in a destination center as big as Airport Junction, we have to have a very effective combination of, the big businesses, we call them multinationals, and then the national ones. National ones are traders that are around, they are available throughout the corners of Botswana, but not outside our borders. If you go Mascom, Orange, Botswana Post, they are national retailers in our view. They are everywhere. So we have a component that is occupied by them. And then the remaining 10%, we then bring SMEs direct. We reserve space for them. I'm sure during the life of Airport Junction, you have seen traders that were Batswana owned. If you think of Bo, Soul, we started with them at the mall. Yes, as a business, they also have the responsibility to ensure that the business is sustainable. But in terms of us, as a company availing space to grow with them, we have done that. It's not only them, there were others as well, trading in children or kiddies things that they were selling at the shopping center. So yeah, we have done. I can just summarize in saying we always provide about 10% for SMEs. Some of them would be owning, you'd be seeing, for instance, a Wimpy, but when you check, it's a franchise that is operated and run by a Botswana. And for us, that is a big thing.
That's a very big thing, I think. Yeah. And speaking about big things, I think one of the things you obviously want to do is ensure sustainability.
Of course.
And, ESG has been something that is on the cards. We're talking smart cities, we're talking green buildings, and so forth. So in terms of implementing sustainability and just bringing on the portfolio, bringing that on board in your portfolio, what have you done as far as, bringing ESG to you?
Yeah, the concept of ESG in totality, especially when you introduce it, it can be onerous or heavy on the owners, on the investors. So because it comes with a lot of costs, we have taken a decision, a very clear decision that we would look at it in steps, progressively, to say what can we do to introduce aspects that would address the requirement for ESG. Part of ESG is just governance, being socially responsible businesses, and then the other ones are just taking care of the environment that we live in. As from the governance point of view, as a business, Khumo, we go through the heaviest scrutiny of how do we do things. I can simply say more than other companies that are doing what we do.
Why would you say that?
I think it's because of our ownership structure. We are owned by big companies in their own merits. In Botswana by BIHL through BFM Holdings, which are in turn owned by Sanlam in SA. It's a huge, monstrous company, 50%. And then the other 50% is owned by Aries Property Group, which is a big company also on its own. Aries Property Group are a technical partner of BFM or BIHL in the ownership of Khumo. So what we do on the ground is what Aries does on a daily basis. But then BIHL and BFM, their ownership in Khumo is more to do with governance processes. What promises do we make to our clients, our investors, when we manage assets for them? We say to them, we come to you as Khumo as a unit, and this is how our character is. This is how our processes are. And you can come in and check those processes every twice a year. You can come in and assess us and see if we are doing things the way we said we would do them, and produce a report that will not end with Khumo, but it goes to higher structures to check, just to give our clients some assurance. So we do that. I don't think a lot of companies go through that processes. I've worked elsewhere before, I know from experience. So as a responsible entity on governance, Haribwaga, ESG, I think Khumo is doing quite a lot. And when we do that, all our employees are involved in the processes, and they get to learn, they get to become better people. They know the kind of language to use, the kind of things to do when you deal with clients, when you deal with investors, because they want you to exist and be there as part of them as a responsible entity. So yeah, I can tell you that we do a lot. And then in terms of the environment, we have to preserve energy. We have to preserve water. We shouldn't produce a lot of chemicals into the atmosphere. At Airport Junction, there is a plant that we did of solar power. Ordinary people may not see it, but there's a huge plant on the roof producing 2 megawatts of power that is able to save us about 20 to 25% of what we consume from BPC.
Wow.
That is massive. It's a project that costs millions. It's there. So that is a clear commitment. Obviously, the money spent there is from the clients, but it took a vision from the property manager to say we need this.
Yeah.
Firstly, to augment our revenue, but also to contribute towards ESG responsibilities. And the water that you see being used in Virgin Active, for instance, in the swimming pool, is from a borehole right there within the center.
Wow.
So we don't use potable water.
Wow.
We recycle waste. There's a lot of things that we do that are going towards ESG. But as a concept in totality, it's very expensive. So you got to approach it in a Kaizen way, step by step. Yeah.
Okay, you're really saying all the right things, because that was going to be one of the questions that I had asked, to say, have you considered just using materials but that are, go green basically, but you've done that. So I think just going further, my question would then be, is that a model that you're sharing with other property companies? Is that something that you're planning on doing going forward?
Obviously, at another level, we exist as a business.
Yeah.
We want to remain at the top.
Yeah.
So there would be some trade
secrets
that you keep without forgetting the responsibility to educate our market. Yeah.
I love this. We continue this conversation in just a bit. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Find us on TikTok, on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube by typing Moving Humanity Forward podcast. If you want to find us on Facebook, just type MHF podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Moving Humanity Forward podcast. We're hanging out with CEO of Khumo Properties, Mr. Outule Bale. And you know what? there's quite a lot that I think he has to share. I did tell you my name is #CuriousCat. I have so very many questions, Mr. Bale, and one of them has to do with it's been more than 20 years. This is your 21st year in business as Khumo Properties, and
Correct.
a lot of the time when companies celebrate, that is a huge milestone. By the way, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
mean, mentioning the fact that you are now looking at over 5 billion worth of assets in your portfolio and under your leadership. So kudos to you, hats off to you. But I think one of the things that stands out for me about you is the fact that you constantly talk about your people. You don't come and say, look, this is the bottom line, the figures. You constantly talk about the people. So are you able to share with us some of, the stories there? Because you've talked about how there was that skills transfer. It happened in real time. So the 20 years that you've been in business, what are some of the stories you can share?
Yes. From the beginning of the company's existence, we, skills were not in good supply. We lacked skills as a country, so we faced the same challenges, Khumo. So we decided that the people, our staff members that we had at the time, those that did not have, the right qualifications then, those many years ago, we devised a program, a deliberate decision that every year we're going to provide budget as a company to develop our own people.
School.
I can tell you,
wow,
many of our people we've assisted develop them from Kore certificate, diploma, degree, some master's programs.
Wow.
Every year. And then we also expose them to certain programs that develop areas where they need to be developed, where they were talking about leadership, we're talking about being proficient in typical systems that we used, computer-based systems. We send them. We also like to now and then send our people across to South Africa, to our shareholder areas, to just go and observe, learn how they are doing things there. Remembering that Aries has been in the business much longer than us. So also when there are platforms or conferences where we think our people can learn, for instance, how shopping centers behave globally, and the people that deal with shopping centers, whether they are retailers or owners of products, they come and share. We send our people there every year to go and learn. So we cannot win as a company if we leave our people behind. So it's a very important thing for the business, and it's something that we will continue doing. Coming back to within the company also, years ago, executive management would take responsibility of reporting at the various platforms of governance. Nowadays, we have given our staff members responsibility to report at these many platforms, be it risk platforms, the AML platforms of today. We send them there to be champions, to talk the language that our clients are expecting. And over time, you are molding people that will be complete professionals in property asset management. And that is something that I'm not about, while I'm still here, to put brakes on. Learning is continuous.
Wow.
We need to keep doing it as the world evolves.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think we can understand that over the last 2 decades, you've actually become basically a legendary training ground for your staff and so forth. So name names.
That's the downside of it. Because
name names, because right?
And we face that a lot.
Yes, because you train
we face that a lot. There's quite a number of people that went through Khumo
and are now industry leaders.
They became industry leaders. Some of them became CEOs. Some of them are well-known property developers. Some of them are property managers of note. Some of them are in finance. I can name quite many of them, but I can tell you that we've been a training ground for many entities in Botswana.
Are there any that went and broke records or just did some big achievements that, the day you lay down the CEO hat, you'll be like, you know what? I changed that story and that story. Get out of the personal mo go wena. You don't need to name names. I think Lina Khumo.
Yeah, I know. I mean, some of them are still colleagues in our industry, people that we have worked with that are well known. If you think of Bo Bakampala, he has been through our structures, both here in Botswana and also as part of Aries in South Africa. And we now know him in the market as somebody who is doing his bit in terms of contributing to our development, in property development. We've had Bu Chanda come through. She's now CEO at the new government entity that has been established to look after education infrastructure. There's just many of them that have come through our ranks, and we know they are doing things on their own merits elsewhere.
I love that, because I know Chanda as well was president. I'm not sure whether it was REAC or
Yes, she was.
So that's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, and some of the entities that are in our business, because of that expansive reach that we have had over the years, they do get in touch with us to say, we're looking at this function, how should we set it up, and do you think this person can do it? So it tells you something, that as a company there is that aspect that you are doing good and people recognize.
And that's a beautiful story. But let's now speak to a young Botswana, a young professional looking at you as Khumo and really wishing for a career within the property industry. What kind of environment are you, shaping for them? What would you like to envision them, to come on board at Khumo and do?
I cannot say we have the solution to that. Demands for the country are much bigger than us, but we only do what we are capable of doing. The first one being, we need to educate youngsters that are up and coming, and we do that in several ways. We have partnerships with institutions of learning. We do get these people to come and learn with us, either on an attachment basis or maybe as short-term employees of us, to look at certain things. We expose them to the entire process of asset management, what it entails. We also sometimes receive students, say from the University of Botswana. They come as a department, we put them in our boardroom, and then we lecture them the entire process of property management, what it entails, what is required of them, and what they can become in future if they focus. So we do that with generally with the industry or in the market, but also our people, as I said, we like to expose them, to allow them to think outside the box, also allow them to make mistakes, because without mistakes they won't learn. And now for me, the person I am, I like to impart, and I also like those that work with me or that report to me to have a bit of that in their day-to-day interactions with staff. Be open enough to impart knowledge, to guide. Don't always look for mistakes. Impart knowledge, guide, and allow them to go out there and practice and see how they will become good individuals, because you are planting a level of confidence that will not easily leave them. They will be comfortable in how they do things if you do that. Not to see you as a boss. Now, I don't like to be seen as a boss. If you come to Khumo, sometimes when I'm with them, you won't know who is the CEO. I'm just blowing my own horn in this aspect because I think it's very important. You won't know who is the CEO. I'm a human being, so I'm a human level person. So I interact with them that way. If they organize things and invite me, I go and do what they do. you know. So when you do that in an organized manner, in a professional setting, I'm telling you, people become comfortable with you. When they make mistakes, they don't hide. They come and tell you, this is what has happened. And you are able to resolve things quickly without them feeling that they are going to be battered. Yes, of course, we demand responsibility. I like a situation where the job that you've been employed to do is the one that pressurizes you. If you do it well, you go home and sleep and not worry about receiving a call from me, Hore, I need to find this thing at 6 o'clock. I want your job to tell you that, and for you to know that my job is talking to me, not my boss. Yeah.
So you're not one to micromanage. You prefer when the deadlines are there, the people must...
It has to come from you.
Yeah.
Obviously, I will push sometimes when the pressures are there for me to deal with. It has to filter down to everyone. But where people are motivated by their responsibilities is the best thing that you can do as a company. And I would like to do that.
I want to touch on what you just mentioned, to say you do often work with institutions, higher learning institutions, to say bring some students in and lecture them basically. I want to talk a little bit about the gap that we have often spoken about in this country, to say the qualifications versus what's actually required on the job. Is that something that you have picked up? And if yes, like, what are you doing? Was the lecturing that you're talking about as a result of having picked up that gap?
Okay. There's a saying that when you are trained academically, you are only being prepared to be trained on the job. You are not prepared to be a complete doer of that job.
Yes.
You are just, making you marinate. That's Tswana, if I can say that. For you to be able to be trained, to do the job you are hired to do. Because Harotain academically, we are making you open to receiving coaching, to receiving
One of
guidance.
my favorite lecturers in uni said to me that I was just teaching you how to learn.
Exactly.
Once I teach you how to learn, my job is done.
It's done. So when you talk about a mismatch between the qualifications and the skills, yes, I think it is a concept that is very high level. We need to understand what we mean, because if you are trained in marketing or journalism, it doesn't mean I cannot train you to do some things appropriate.
Yeah.
Because you are already prepared to receive new things and be able to understand, interpret them, and do the job that is required.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm going to close off very soon, but just looking at every single staff member that has been part of Khumo Properties, whether still with you or not, it has been over 2 decades. I'd like to get you to just speak to them, just, I don't know, share a message, gratitude, whatever's on your mind and on your heart.
They may not be heroes in the eyes of society, but as a business, we are standing on shoulders of big people that have made an impact in our business. Their contributions over time, the patience to stay with the company when things were not as rosy, you grow. Even as a company, we grow. They were there. They made an impact. They left the business with something to build on. Right now, we are standing, all of us who are at Khumo now, on their shoulders, on the legacy they left us. And we are so thankful for them. When we celebrated our 10th year anniversary, we invited all of them who ever worked with us. And the intention was that when we celebrate the 20th anniversary, we will also do the same. All people that worked in Khumo and all those that were our clients, because they contributed to the business being what it is today. So we are thankful for their time, their sacrifices, and their expertise.
Mr. Bale, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
And that's how we close off this episode of Moving Humanity Forward podcast. Look out over the next couple of weeks. We will be speaking property and just getting into different conversations. I mean, I have so many questions about this because one of them has to do, Rebale, with the fact that all of us, our retirement plan, kidi multi-res. So I want to talk about that, and we'll see about having that conversation sometime soon. So look out for that. It'll come through in the next couple of weeks. This is Moving Humanity Forward podcast. We'll catch you next week.